One thing I do love about this event is the fact that we are all together from the HealthTech community.
Claire, good afternoon in beautiful Paris. And thank you for joining us for this little get together and discussion. Uh, we're here a little bit in preparation of the HealthTech Investor Summit 2025, which for the first time will take place outside of Belgium in Utrecht in December this year. And I wanted to go through a few things with you. And one of the first things that is uh, intriguing me is we are living in complicated geopolitical climate at this point in time. We hear a lot Europe versus US, US versus China. We hear a lot versus. Yeah. Uh, but what are things that we can do as European companies, as European players, as European investors to uh, accommodate and to manage the situation that we are in? And do we see any clear opportunities in that as well?
Okay, that's quite a question. So thank you, Elle, first for the invitation, and I'm really looking forward to come to Utrecht in next December. And it's going to be fun. And going back to your question, that's correct. That the geopolitical and economic situation right now is not so good, and we have to manage that. And the first thing we have to manage for the companies, the European companies today, is how to manage their budget and stay, let's say, alive the longest as possible. And this is maybe something they were not used to do, even though European companies are able to do much more things with less money than US companies. So we are in this way as European much more creative to do to take actions and create assets with less money. Um, One thing that is maybe to take into account also is that this difficulty in the management of the budget is having a consequence on the development of the products. And these delays in the development of the products can be an issue, especially for IP. And because when you are mapping your IP strategy and you are filing your patent application, you need to foresee during your priority year, and you need to get some data, more data to reinforce your patent application, for example. And this, if you do not have those data in the first year after the filing, that can be an issue, and that can decrease the value of your patents in the end. So this is something that we really need to take care of right now. And so I'm just sticking on my strong keywords that I always telling everybody is anticipation. Anticipation is more than ever something that we need to reflect on. You need to anticipate as a CEO of a company a lot of things, and especially for IP, you need to think in advance on where you want to go and what you need to go there. And when you have that in mind, then you can work on the actions and not the other way.
I hear a few times the word money. That's the key word at this point in time, of course. And that was one of the original goals of the HealthTech Investor Summit. Is this the time that we as investors and an investor community need to step up and start to form European syndicates and really reinforce the creation of European homegrown countries first? Whether they afterwards go to the European market or the US market, that's another story. But do we really need to join forces from an investment point of view and in that way support more companies?
Yeah, I think that would be super interesting. You know that I'm working either on the biotech side and the medtech tech side, and this is something that we can see in the biotech side. And having investors from different countries can be super interesting for the companies because they know their market and they know the habits and the uses in their countries. And one of the goals and issue we have to pay attention to is how we're going to develop and what is the market access in the country, what is the reimbursement mode in the country, and this is something that is very specific to each country. So I think the company would really benefit to have this, well, let's say pan-European or at least two or three different countries involved in their development. And from what I see in on the biotech side is that you definitely think ahead on how you're going to get the product in the different countries when you have investment coming, for example, from Belgium or from Germany and from France. And this is something that is very valuable for the companies. So if we can succeed in that, this is something very good for Europe.
I'm thinking a step further. I just learned that last Monday, the European Investment Council launched another 40 companies with a grant under the EIC Accelerator program. Yeah? That is another way to stimulate and to help companies that are in that transition phase from being a local company into a growth company and into a true European company. Do we need to involve more people like European Investment Council and bring them together with the investors in order to do and further grow that whole process?
I think we would benefit from that for sure. Yeah, for what I see in all the current companies we are working with, these EIC funds are very needed to go further in the development, and because it's quite a sum of money, and that really helps to leverage the money investment from the fundraising. So definitely, if we can have more of that and more in the medtech aspect ecosystem, that would be great.
Well, I'm glad to say that we are actively in discussions with EIC to become a strategic partner also for the HealthTech Investor Summit and to also for them to bring a number of their EIC accelerator companies to the conference. So I think that can be a very important step. Um, we know that the funding environment at this point in time is challenging. You already talked about it a little bit. How do companies in an optimal way manage their IP strategy in such an environment? Yeah? I mean, at the end of the day, you need to make choices.
Absolutely.
You need to make choices where you will file, where you will maintain your patents. And in a complicated environment where we're in, are you skipping filing in China or are you skipping filing in wherever? How do you deal with that?
I don't think that skipping filing China would be a good idea for the future. But no, the thing is to stick to the main needs of the company. Meaning first the patent portfolio management, and sometimes people forget that this is something needed, and you have to let go or withdraw some of the assets you had because you need to create new assets and you do not have the budget to keep everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, get rid of something and to create something new is something to take into consideration.
So kill some of your babies so that you can keep the healthy ones more healthy.
That would be a way to put it. Absolutely. And you need to think about you can keep something in but not on that broad geographic geographical scope you have, and just keep, for example, Europe or a few countries in Europe in the US, and that's it, like a defensive way, and in put more money on the new assets, because this is the new assets which are going to help you raise money, not the old ones. Even if the old ones are covering you for freedom to operate and etc. But uh, definitely new assets, and well, you need to think about the geographical scope of the new assets. And definitely you still have to take Europe and US, you still have to go to China, and I even recommend Japan and Korea, depending on where, what is exactly the product you're developing, and where is your market, and which can be a bit different. But you cannot forget about China. China is going to be a big market, and what you need to think about IP is that IP is lasting for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So you are not working for the next 2 or 3 years, you are working for when your product is going to be on the market, which is hopefully in 5 years in our domain. It's maybe the product will be on the market in 10 to 15 years still, and you need to have protection there. And IP is also here to make a partnership. And so you definitely need to have something to partner or to be acquired by different companies.
Yeah. Is that not a lesson that we have learned over and over again, that at the moment that you're a company that is starting and that is starting to define its product, that it's very important as quickly as possible to define your go-to-market strategy, the markets, your key markets that you want to address, and link to that also the IP which is coupled to that. Is that not a very important lesson that we need to continue to give?
Absolutely, and that's what I really liked in our last session in Bruges last December, is the fact that we had a focus on this, the market, the go-to-market strategy, and how you would develop it with the regulatory side of the product, because if you are not taking that into account, and especially the market access, then you may develop whatever you want. At some point, you will be blocked. You will be blocked by regulatory issues, or you will be blocked because there will be not an easy access to the market, and will not have anticipated that. So again, the word anticipation. And this is what I think the HealthTech Investor Summit is really good at. It's trying to teach and remind to people what they need to focus on, and especially for first years who do not have the experience about that, and to try to tell them, okay, you should consider this and that, which we agree it's very difficult to do everything at the same time. But then you need to find a way to either find some advisors that would help you around those topics, but do not forget one specific topic, such as the regulatory pathway or the market access or the goods markets.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the big challenges, of course. I mean, if you're a company that has a good idea and that has a technology platform, you have a lot of ideas to develop that. The most difficult thing is to start to say, let's now focus on and really start to develop a product, and then define for that product, what is my IP strategy, what is my go-to-market strategy, what is my strategy in general.
Absolutely. Yeah, that that makes sense. And I was in a meeting this afternoon exactly on this topic, meaning you can have as a company a wonderful technology and a wonderful platform, but somehow you can do everything with this platform, and maybe in a lot of different areas. And the thing is, maybe this tech is a bit ahead of the market, and which means that there is no market or no use of the product, and you cannot imagine what is going to be the product, and which is an issue at first. And at some point, you may have so many options that you get lost in the different options. You are going in multiple directions, and you are not focusing on developing a product or two products, but not more. And it's very difficult to assess which direction should be the one. And at some point, this is something you may have to assess almost every year. And do not hesitate to take a turn and finally decide to go elsewhere. And this is the same with IP strategy. To go back to IP, you have to monitor your IP strategy every year, because you have to stick to where you want to go and what is the product you're going to develop. And it's okay if you are changing the product you are developing, then you will find a way to either adapt the portfolio or either recreate new assets, or both, usually both. But think about what can be the correct strategy with third parties. Meaning you can maybe fight with a competitor at one point, but maybe in 5 years, because everybody will have taken different direction. This competitor is not anymore a competitor, and you should stop fighting.
Yeah.
And maybe more partner with him, because you may have some assets that can be opportunities.
So, going back to the HealthTech Investor Summit, it was our deliberate choice from day one to also bring very early stage companies, pre-seed companies, startup companies to the conference and let them pitch. And we've said from the beginning, they are pitching there to learn to pitch, not necessarily yet to pitch for investors, but listening to our conversation, I think the pitching is even more important to bring that awareness of a need for focus and a need for product orientation. Yeah?
Absolutely.
And so the pitching exercise that they are doing now is, I think, a very, very useful exercise in helping them. And the fact that we challenge them during the pitches and that we challenge them during the presentations with the jury that we have there is a way to gradually move everybody in the direction of what is your product, where are you going to focus on, and at the end of the day, who is going to pay for your products, and how do you want to protect your product?
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that the questions the jury ask at the end of the pitches are to help in a good way the startups to think about those directions and those topics, and somehow to get to the next level, because you will have to assess each of the topic, and each have different levels, and you can move from one level to another, and it's perfectly okay if you're a pre-seed or a seed startup. Everybody will take that into consideration. It's the thing, I think, is to show everyone that you will be able to evolve, because next time you will meet the same people, same investor, same ecosystem, and you can show that you have moved from one point to another, and you have create value, or you have create the correct direction for the service.
What are the key things that we still need to do to improve the HealthTech Investor Summit in light of what we discussed?
Huh. Good question. One thing I do love about this event is the fact that we are all together from the HealthTech community, and which is very nice, because there is not so many events where we are only the HealthTech ecosystem. So we get to know each other better this way, and which is, I think, super important and super useful for the whole ecosystem, because we are growing together and learning how we can learn from one another, or how we can partner with one another, or how we can syndicate as investors to invest in a company. So these are one of the people of these events.
So companies should not only go there to find investors, but they should also go there to get to know each other and to start to identify possible synergies even between them.
That's always interesting to know about your ecosystem. You know your ecosystem because you learn about how the others do, and even if it's not the same product, not the same indication, etc. It's always interesting to understand because somehow you can learn also from the experience from the others and understand and say, okay, if I am in that position or that situation, I will remember that well, this guy had this issue and this may prevent me to do the same.
And maybe they call each other or mail each other and exchange
absolutely. And that's very valuable in that way. And it's not because you are not developing the same things that the situation cannot come across with the same issue. So,
okay, thank you very much. It was good to see you again, and looking forward to catch up in.
absolutely.